Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to Know Your Gear QA number 108. Boy, we're getting up there in age, and hopefully everybody's doing good. I'm testing something, and it worked. Thank you. I'd like to. I feel horrible. I have to pull up the email. One of you guys sent me an email this week about the whole issue with when I start this broadcast that I can't mute it until it starts. And somebody said, why don't you just mute the computer? And I said, let's see if it worked. That's what worked. It worked. And then I was able to mute it through the system as well. So that worked. I want to say thank you for that. Sorry if I forgot the email and name. It's been a busy week. So somebody says 108, great hardcore band. So let's get into some discussion, some questions. What's going on? What's up with you guys this week? What's up with me this week? I look forward to this. This has been a crazy week for me. Lots of content that I didn't release any content this week. I don't think I did a single video or released a single video. I think I only put one to the patrons, and that was something that's actually just a piece of a video that I'm working on. And but that's okay. Lots of stuff coming. And Brian Stewart said, congratulations on 210,000 subscribers. Thank you, Brian. You know, when you hit 211,000 subscribers, you get to have one more 1,000 subscribers. I don't know. It's awesome though. It's so, you know, those numbers don't even seem real to me. You know, I'm sure a lot of you guys that watch this have channels, and some of your channels are bigger than mine. Some of your channels are smaller than mine. And I'm sure you feel the same way. No matter what size your channel is, it seems unfathomable that so many people even like the instrument or the thing you like, much less watch you or talk to you. It's great. Let's get into some stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of great questions and some subjects to talk about as well. Hold on a second. Hold on. Well, let's see. Let's start with David Hunter. Why not? Hey, Phil, building a guitar for my fiance who loves the bright and clear single coil sound. Could you recommend a very wide frequency range single coil? Yeah, single coils are tough because I am not a traditional single coil fan. In other words, I don't tend to like the single coils that everybody else likes, and I don't know what that is. I don't know what the logic is behind that. When I think of single coil fans, I always think of 50s single coil pickups. Seems like Fender likes to put those in the guitars, and we talked about this before. I'm more of definitely a 60s era single coil fan. I like lace sensor pickups. I use my lace gold, lace blue, lace red, lace silver. I like all those pickups. I like, which is funny because I have noiseless pickups, branded pickups by Fender in my guitars, but I'm not a huge fan of them. But for pickups, you know, for single coils, it's tough, especially without knowing the guitar to know what to recommend. But if she likes bright and clear sounding single coils, that's going to be more like the traditional low output 50s era pickups. So I would kind of look for those as well. You can get the Fat 50 set from Fender. You can get a 50 set from Seymour Duncan. There's also like sets. To me, a great suggestion for a single coil that has that kind of bright, clear sound, but it's also noiseless, is I think they're called the HS somethings now by DiMarzio. They used to be the Yngwie Malmsteen pickups. So that's the easiest way to find them. They were the Yngwie Malmsteen. Now, Yngwie Malmsteen is with Seymour Duncan now, and they have Yngwie Malmsteen single coil pickups. And I don't know if I've actually played the Seymour Duncan version. I don't know if I've ever actually played a guitar that had them in there. But I've always been a fan of the DiMarzios, and I don't really have any kind of like, I've played the original DiMarzios with the Yngwie logos, you know, the Yngwie, and now of course the ones that no longer have his logo or name on them. And I like them both the same. So something that, especially for, if you want that 50s era sound, but noiseless, I think that's one of the best pickups out there for that era, get that sound. So there you go with that. And then I have a pin question. Hold on, Matt. I want to get a non-pin question. Whoops. Hold on a second. Oh, Shaman Blue said Wiggins overwound pickups are nice. You know, that's a good, thank you, Shaman, for suggesting that. I do have Wiggins in two of my guitars. And in fact, it's the biggest testimony I have for Wiggins pickups is Wiggins pickups are in my least expensive Stratocaster, my Squier Bullet, and they kill. They sound amazing. bright, clear. You might have, you know what? I'll put a link in the description for Wiggins pickups because, again, we know William Wiggins here on the channel. He's a great guy. His pickups sound great, and they're unique. If you're looking for something really cool and different, aesthetically, sound-wise, they are classic and sound great, but aesthetically, they are very unique because they're made of wood. They got wood bobbins. So thank you again, Showman. That's a good point out for that. You know, what's funny is, and now I'm trying to think about it, because I have Wiggins in that pickup Strat, and I have Wiggins in another Strat, but I think I mentioned this before, that is I have plastic covers over my Wiggins on my other Strat for the aesthetics. So I have a set where you can see the beautiful wood bobbins and some where you can't. Mike E. Bryan, Mike E. B. Breen, I don't know. Sorry, Mick. It's not even Mike, it's Mick. Mickey O'Brien, whatever. What do you think about Zakk Wylde audio? I'm going to feel horrible whatever comes out of my mouth right now because my first instinct is I'm not even sure that it exists still. Is it still a brand? Does it exist? What I remember was it came out and it was displayed at Schecter Guitars. Here's what I know about Zakk Wylde's brand. It was displayed at Schecter's Guitars, which alluded it was going to be built by Schecter Guitars, but that's what my understanding later was not. It was only distributed by Schecter Guitars outside the U.S. Inside the U.S., it was exclusively distributed by Guitar Center. So a lot of people kept saying, oh, it's great because Schecter just, builds it and distributes it. But when I talked to Schecter said they distribute it in Europe and outside the U.S. They don't build it. And in the U.S., it was distributed by Guitar Center. What I remember about Guitar Center was they were clearancing them all the time. Now, the guitars I picked up played great, sounded great. For some reason, consistently, were always heavy, something I really didn't enjoy because I don't like the heavier guitars. But, I could get over that because I got like that Les Paul right behind me. That thing's like 12 pounds. So I liked them, but I don't see them anymore. And I thought Guitar Center was the only distributor. And I've seen and talked to independent retailers who told me personally they would never carry them because of that arrangement with Guitar Center, whether it was an exclusive at first to be Guitar Center only brand and then move to all stores, which I think is what the plan was, or it was just Guitar Center only. It really put a foul taste in a lot of the independent dealers. I understand both sides of the coin, considering I've been there with the retailers. I know the feeling of when it's like, to get the big chain, get all the opportunities. But I also understand from a manufacturing point of view, like Zakk Wylde, that you got to get the best distribution you can. And, but that being said, somebody could probably tell me in the comments, are they still around? I just don't feel like they're around anymore. So, yeah, I'm just waiting to see if anyone says anything. Nope. So, Michael Costa, we're talking about Zakk Wylde. We're asking if the brand Zakk Wylde audio is still around. They're supposed to do amps. They never even came out with the amps. Remember that? That just like, that was a non-start on that. They talked about the amps and then never put them out. So that was the end of that. So the easy answer is no amps. And I don't know if guitars still exist. Wish them all the best though. Matt wants to know, hey, Phil, finally got a wah pedal. Hey, that's awesome. Everybody's like, your first wah pedal is like the greatest experience ever. It's, in fact, I feel like every time I buy a wah pedal, I think a lot of us, when we buy a wah pedal, you try to rejuvenate that exciting moment the first time you got to try a wah pedal out. And it never happens the second time the same way. It's just kind of a cool feeling to hear that sound. Where do you recommend ordering it on okay. So the order, he wants to know, where do I put it on a pedal board with an overdrive delay? Here's the answer, man. No matter what you say next, I put the wah pedal first. I don't put compressor in front of a wah pedal. Usually that's something I would put first, compressor for me. But if I put a wah pedal, actually, if I do, I have my board right there, wah pedal is absolutely first. So wah pedal is always going to be first in my pedal board. The only thing that would change that sometimes is fuzz pedals, right? Sometimes you want it before and after a fuzz pedal because of the whole buffer thing. But that being said, I will always put it in first unless specifically there's an issue with the fuzz pedal. For first, I like it first. So, and I understand, and so you know that is not a rule, a steadfast, hard, fast rule that says yes, it has to go first. Like you're saying in the rest of your comment, you can't make up your mind what you like best, because I'm sure when you experiment, you try different things. But me, wah pedals always first, because I love wah pedals. I said this before. My joke, it's whatever. It's a comment, but it's maybe you'll find it funny. I say only guitar players are sick of wah pedals. Audiences are not. I've never heard a non-guitar player say, whatever that wah wah sound is, I hate that. People love wah pedals, right? And it's funny to me. It's like, so guitar players get like, oh, Kirk Hammett's too much wah, or this guitar player is too much wah. But ideally, you know, the fans, the listeners, they don't ever complain about wah pedals. And I've learned, and I've said this before, I've learned the trick when you go to open jam night, when you go and jam with people, even though the majority of the audience are musicians that are going to go up on stage and jam, the non-musicians, especially the guys that should listen to this, the ladies like the wah pedal. You think I'm kidding? You think, but it's true. Every time I used to not bring a wah pedal because guitar players are like, oh, sick of wah pedal. But if you put out a wah pedal and you play just a wah pedal a little bit, every non-musician always comes up to you. And I have even a better story than that. That's funnier. I once played one night, and the guitar player that played immediately after me, who blew me out of the water, was 10,000 times more talented, was just nailing every note. I got so many accolades all night from my wah solo. They're like, whatever you were doing, man, that thing was just tearing it up. You were just really crazy. And the other guy, he just got in the shadow of the wah pedal. I almost felt bad that me and my sad little licks and wah pedal was killing him. But so there you go. So wah pedal first, and use the wah pedal because the audience likes the wah pedal. I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts. So I like it when you guys tell me, I like it when you guys have something. See, Will says women dig wahs. Yeah. Yeah, and the men. Remember when the women play the wah, the male non-musicians, you know, right, love the wah too. So Ben Combs says, I sold my wah, never used it as the other player in my band uses one. Yeah, okay, that's a different argument, right? I've been in a like experience without a wah, Ben, because I've had that experience with just gear. You know, you ever have an amp that you love, but the other guitar player uses an amp that just either it really cuts the mix and kills your amp out, or it doesn't mix with your amp. So sometimes you can't. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to listen to two wahs. That's a good question. When you think of wah players, like when I think of wah guitar players, I know you're supposed to think of Hendrix, but my favorite guitar wah player is Gary Hoey. I love Gary Hoey. And Gary Hoey, when he uses a wah, it's like he uses a wah a lot, and I don't ever get sick of it. So when I think of wah players, I think of Gary Hoey, I think of Slash, which is funny. I think of Jimi Hendrix. I think of Kirk Hammett. What I'm trying to think of now is trying to think of a band where two guitar players in the band both use wah heavily. And I can't think of one. Like I said, with Metallica, James Hetfield, I don't think he even uses a wah, does he? And if he does, not very often. And so when you think of guitar players where you think of bands where they have two guitar players, Ben might be onto something in the comment that maybe only one guitar player can have that wah. So that would be, if that's true, if that becomes a thing, it's important that if you're in a band right now and you're listening, that you get your wah pedal first. Think of it like, in fact, not to be a jerk, but maybe you should get the wah pedal and put it in your pedal board, even if you don't plan to use it, because like claiming it, you claimed it, right? So it's on your pedal board. If the other guitar player thinks about getting a wah, he can't. This is a one wah band. That's our new t-shirt, by the way. There's only one room. There's only room in this town for one wah. There's only room in this band for one wah pedal, and I have it. So the one wah band. This is a lot of talk about wah. So I hope you guys are having as much fun as I am. So, all right. Yeah. Oh, Charles, thank you. Thin Lizzy, 2 wahs. Okay. So here's the problem, Charles. And I thank you so much for coming up with that, or giving that note. Those who become, now see, unless we get a lot, remember, those are the exceptions, not the rule. So I think the rule for so far, until we come up with something different, the rule is one wah per band. And of course, there'll be exceptions, but I don't know how many exceptions we're going to find. Thin Lizzy's a good one. So good. Again, please, guys, even in these comments now or later in the comments, if you guys have suggestions for bands, Mike Mooney says Thin Lizzy was awesome. Yeah, Thin Lizzy is definitely a band that for some reason you don't think of them too much. And then Thin Lizzy, actually, for me, I want to say this. Thin Lizzy's a band where you listen to their catalog and you go, oh, I forgot how many great songs they have. One after another great song, another great song, another great song. And Thin Lizzy's one of those bands. I remember once when I listened to them, really got into them and listened to them for the first time. They were a band like the band U2. I hate to say it, U2 was another band like that for me, where I listened to the catalog not thinking I was a fan. Like, oh, I'm going to try to experience their music. And you go through the catalog and then you realize, like, I listened to 90% of these songs. I knew the lyrics. You don't realize you're a fan. You just didn't pay attention. I've had that happen to me with a couple bands where you go, wow, I don't think of myself as a diehard fan, but now listening to the catalog, I realize I've listened to it all and I've been listening to it. So again, we'll have to keep the wah, and the bands with wahs. We'll have to keep thinking of them. Okay. Let me go to a pin question because there's 600 of us and it's moving a little fast. So let me see if I can go to something a little slower, get my focus. Nathan Sonye. Nathan. Nathan, if you guys don't know, Nathan's my buddy. He, you know what? You sent me a text, Nathan. I hope you end up getting the job. But in the meantime, Nathan is who buffs PRSs. He works at PRS. He's a friend of mine. He used to live in Arizona. He moved all the way to Maryland to buff guitars for Paul Reed Smith guitars. And he is, in my opinion, their best employee, an amazing guy. And I'm not just saying that. Nathan says, haven't checked out the live stream in a while? Oh, well, thanks, Nathan. After I just gave you all those accolades, you're going to be like, who's this Phil McKnight guy? Anyways, he says, I just picked woods for my 2408 10 top. I'm stoked. Thoughts on Bosco France joining LPD. So what he's talking about, two things. He's an employee. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you this, but Nathan didn't tell me this. That's something I know on my own. PRS employees, I think when they hit the 2-year mark of being employed at Paul Reed Smith, they get to build or get a guitar. They get to make a guitar. And there's restrictions and rules and stuff, but it's a perk of being a PRS employee is that, if you make it 2 years. And so, at Paul Reed Smith Guitars, this sounds like a plug for Paul Reed Smith. It's really just a plug for Nathan because of what I'm going to say next. Most people do not make it at PRS Guitars because everybody starts in the buffing department. And so you basically 8 hours a day are buffing guitars all day, getting caked in that compound. And you do that forever and ever and ever and ever until one day they let you out of that room and get you into a different department of the company. So that 2-year mark is a very important mark. So congratulations, Nathan, for getting caked in all that buffing compound. By the way, if anyone ever has a problem with their PRS and it's not buffed correctly, I'll give you Nathan's email. And on the second note, that's cool, 24/8. And my thoughts on Bosco France, all I saw was Bosco France did a video where he showed the Gila fuzz on his Facebook. I thought the video was good. It sounded great, as Bosco always does. So that's cool. And I think it's cool that he's joining the LPD family. That's Lawrence Petros Designs. For you guys, Nathan is Nathan lived here in Arizona for a while, so he knows Lawrence like I do from him being local. Hanner Gunson says, so how are you doing? Hanner, I'm doing good. How are you doing, buddy? It's funny. No one's ever just flat out said, how you doing? I'm doing good. There you go. There you go. I don't have any much more to say about that. Okay, so let's go to another question or another comment. What else can we talk about? Okay, you guys are talking back and forth, but I kind of like what you're talking about. Corey said some people buy high-end Les Pauls as their first guitar. High-end guitars are easier to play. PRS wouldn't be a worst first guitar, a worst choice. That's a good, interesting thought. There is the reason I pointed this out is because I'm sure this is communication. You guys are talking back and forth on the chat. But I like that statement because that is always a question of, how much did you spend for your first guitar? And I heard this thing once and I always thought it was interesting, which is every penny you spend, every penny you add to the first purchase of a guitar will give you more value in most cases. Now, of course, that's not entirely true. That doesn't stack up. If you buy a $10,000 guitar for your first guitar, it's a great choice. But what I love about that idea is that basically it says, hey, if you buy a $200 guitar for your first guitar, you're doing fine. But if you buy $250, it's a better idea, and $300, so on. It's an interesting idea. Keep in mind on this channel, I like to talk about these ideas and I like to say them, whether they're my ideas or ideas I even believe in or think they're accurate. I like sharing the things I've heard or the things we've talked about. Because I don't think that's a wrong thing to do. Buying a high-end guitar for your first guitar sure wouldn't hurt. So in fact, maybe that's the bigger question. Is buying your first guitar as a very expensive guitar, does that hurt you as a guitar player? Does anyone believe, that's what I'm curious right now. You guys put in the comments right now. Does anyone believe that they spent $2,000 for their first guitar? Now, keep in mind, not everybody has $2,000. Absolutely. That's a crazy amount of money. But seriously, we're talking about somebody who's got the cash, right? They got $2,000. There's worse things, right? To buy. They buy their first guitar. Is that a mistake? I want to hear the argument that says why buying an expensive guitar as your first guitar is a horrible mistake. Ian says buy one used first to practice. Again, I understand the why you would want to think of this. Even if you bought a $2,000 guitar, we could argue, don't buy a $2,000 new guitar, buy a $3,000 used guitar and for $2,000. Again, that's not the question. The question is there a negative to buying a high-end guitar as your first guitar? Right? I'm curious because you know what it is. Some of you players out there have always some interesting ideas that I've never considered. Yeah. So the great Brian's saying it's a mistake to buy a $150 guitar first, I think. BX Silva says better playability won't outgrow the instrument. In other words, if you buy a high-end guitar. Again, I agree. But I'm looking for the counter argument. And Dagger Blue says $1,000 is my personal hard limit for any guitar. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I understand that too. I understand limits, but again, that's not what we're arguing. We're arguing why somebody would not, what would be the negative effect of buying an expensive guitar first? And that's what I'm trying to think of. I don't know what the negative effect would be. I can't rationalize that if a guitar is too easy to play when you start out, that's bad. Maybe it is. Maybe it's like, I don't know. It's kind of, it depends. I think sometimes on our age too, right? My favorite, you got to start out the hard way kind of story is when I was learning to drive when I was a kid, I was told you were supposed to learn on a stick shift. That's the way you do it because, the world, you won't always have access to an automatic transmission and you have to drive stick. And the funny story about that is I learned to drive a stick and then I joined the Army and I thought this is where it's going to pay off because none of my friends had a stick shift. All of them had automatics. I had an automatic transmission in my Jeep. And when I joined the Army, I was like, oh, well, here you go. I'll drive a stick in the Army. And the United States Army is all automatic. So that'll tell you guys, those of you guys who served in the military, that'll tell you when I served because some of you guys are going to be like, what? That's not true. But trust me, if you served anything post 1993, 94, yeah, there's no stick shifts in the military, not in the Army. Okay, so Dirt Racer X says you won't learn how to upgrade your crappy Chinese pickups if you buy nice first. I understand the comment in there, and I kind of like where you're going with this. There would be the angle. There would be if you buy too high end of a guitar, maybe like buying your first car is too nice of a first car, really nice car. Maybe there's no incentive to learn about the guitar, fix things. I can see that argument. So yeah, those are good thoughts. Okay. Scott wants to know, what does Scott want to know? He wants to know what's my thoughts on the ESP USA M1. Well, that's an awesome guitar. I'd never see them anymore. I go on Reverb. I find myself more and more not going on eBay. I don't know why. I think eBay has secretly some secret stuff that you never see on Reverb, but I find myself, it's just so easy to search on Reverb. I go on there and I type in like this. I'll put in ESP USA on Reverb, and it will pull up all the guitars. On eBay, you got to go and literally go into the category guitar. Otherwise it pulls up weird, like dishwashers that are called ESP or whatever. And so back to your comment, what's my thoughts on it? That's a guitar I've never owned. I've always wanted to. ESP, I feel when we do these podcast live shows, obviously 108, you're going to repeat yourself. Something I'm going to repeat again on this, but it's been a while. ESP is a brand. Hamer is another one. Those are brands when I was getting into guitar that you never saw in person. They didn't exist. I never saw them. The ESP was like, oh, Queensryche had them, and I loved Queensryche, and George Lynch had them, and of course I was a huge Doc and George Lynch fan at the time, and those bands were great, and I wanted an ESP, or I wanted to see an ESP, and you just never saw them. So the first time I saw ESP in person was an actual LTD. I walked into Guitar Center once, and all of a sudden there was ESPs everywhere, and I was like, what's this? Right? What is going on? And then that's when you figure out, no, these are LTDs. And I'm like, oh, these are not ESPs, whatever that means. So the only ESP I've ever owned is I had a George Lynch Kamikaze for a short time, ESP. And it was a maple body, and it was heavy. And it was cool, but it had its moment with me, and it moved on. In fact, I sold it to my buddy who still has it. But that being said, USA M1, I don't think I've ever even touched one. I don't even think I've ever set one up. I don't even think one's come across my bench. If it has, it was a one-time many years ago, and I just don't remember. So that's my thought. Love the guitar, just never touched them. All I've touched is the LTD versions. But it's a guitar that I think I would love to check out. I assume it's going to play like a Jackson and Ibanez, all these high-end kind of guitars we know from back in the day. It's just cool, and they look cool. Robert Davidson says, how to fix a jammed Strat truss rod. Whoa. Okay. Jammed. I don't understand the concept of what you're saying. When you say jammed, I'm thinking you mean like it's stripped, because I can't imagine what you would jam up in the truss rod. So I'm going to say the term that you're using, jammed, is more of a slang, like it's just messed up. How to fix a messed up truss rod? I'm going to go with that. Truss rods, unless it's snapped the end off, which can happen, generally they get stripped. You can take that to, if you have a truss rod, how to fix a jammed truss rod? Well, on a Strat, you should take it to a repair person or a luthier who knows what they're doing, because in a lot of cases I have one too. We have a tool that I can get in there and grab it, and I can pull the end off and replace that. And sometimes you can replace the end of the truss rod, and that will help a lot, save it. What I will tell you is this: those are the kind of repairs, especially on a live, kind of broadcast thing like this, where I want to be very, very clear. Stuff like this, if you notice, you can hear my tone of my voice, makes me nervous, because the more you mess with it, the harder it's going to be for somebody who knows what they're doing to fix it. So every little thing you do now is going to make the situation worse. So the first thing you do, if you think is take it to a credible place that you feel like they're an honest worker and have them look at it. Because truss rods, in my experience, a lot of times when they get something wrong with them, they could be fixed, but some people have just messed with them just a little too much, and then they took it too far to recover. And once you can't recover it, it's never worth ripping the fretboard off and putting in a new truss rod. Not never. Never is not the word. The majority of us, it's not going to be feasible for the majority of us with normal price guitars. So there you go. So take it there. And again, it's not important that you get there in a hurry. It's just important you stop messing with it. or I should say this too, Robert, if you take pictures and send it to me at askknowyourgear@gmail.com, I can give you some response, a quick response like, hey, this is what I see. Just send it to me and just put in the subject, something refers back to this. Let me know. I'd be curious to see it too. I'm curious to see. Maybe I can share that with the audience later. So there you go with that. Aaron says, how's it going? I knew as soon as Hannah said that, everybody's going to say, how you doing? How's it going? Okay. Okay. Yeah, Rex says, hey, missed out on a Hamer Stevens signature model in hot pink. Someone beat me to it. Yeah, those guitars, and they've skyrocketed in price. Anything with Steve Stevens on it. Okay. Boys, here you go. Boris, Jaros. I'm sorry, buddy. What do you think of Marshall Code amps? The only reason I want to answer this is because if you haven't noticed, the Marshall Code amps are on clearance. I saw them on clearance at a bunch of places. Sweetwater was one. I think Musician's Friend was the other. So if you've been thinking about getting a Code, I saw them on super deals out there. So I'm sure it's either the end of the line for that amp line or they're not moving well. But I like them. I like the Code I played. I thought it was a good amp. Sounded good, played good. It's a modeling amp. I'm not a huge modeling amp fan. Let's just, I'll say it there. If I was going to buy a modeling amp, I would probably buy the Katana over the Code, but I like the Code more than, let's say, the Fender Mustang. So there you go. And right now, because the prices are sweet, that's why I thought the good idea to answer the question. I assumed you're asking because you're thinking about it. Here's my suggestion to you. If I'm saying is correct and there's deals out there, I'd say pick one up. If you're thinking it's good enough for me to recommend at the deals I saw. So, like I said, if the deals are out there. Brian says, I don't think they sold very well. People don't think digital and Marshall in their mind. Yeah, you know what it is? You could be totally right, Brian. That's absolutely a great assessment. My assessment also would be to add to that is I think the modeling things there's just too many of them, too much competition. And I really think Katana just knew how to slam it when it came to marketing, social marketing, store marketing. They took up a lot of the sales. And so, this seems to be the trend over and over and over again when it comes to this platform, which is the digital modeling, affordable price amp market. There always seems to be a winner at any given moment. So for a while it was like Crate. And then after Crate, it was Line 6. And then after Line 6, it was like Peavey for a little while. And then after Peavey, maybe it was, then it was Fender. Then the Fender Mustangs came in and they were just like the first series of Mustangs punching everybody out. And then Code comes, right? There's always a lot of competition. It seems getting worse, but there's always one that seems to be dominating the market. And I think for now it's Katana. I think they're doing it. And probably, so, just to be fair, probably, Mustang by Fender is either the same, equal, or close, just because I know Fender is always dominant when it comes to volume of units sold. So I can't imagine Katana's outselling Mustang volume of units. But I'm talking about popularity amongst us in these conversations. I think Katana is the more popular choice. Although I bet you if we were to look at hard numbers from all those companies, I would not be shocked to hear that Mustang is the number one seller, just because Fender's always got that slot kind of wrapped up. Okay, Jeremy says, thanks for the show. You're welcome, Jeremy. Thank you for hanging out with me on Friday. Says Phil, I feel like it's a weekly gear addiction AA. Yeah, sometimes I don't know if we're helping each other or making it worse. I think maybe sometimes we need to have somebody who's not into gear hanging out, maybe to give us all clear ideas on maybe, staying away from this stuff. Only instead of trying to cure it. I see. I got to stop answering before I finish reading. We reinforce each other's habit. Yeah, I agree, Jeremy. I think we sometimes are making things worse and not better. But there could be worse things for us to do on a Friday afternoon. By far, I think without any kind of a stroke of the imagination. Neil says, "Hey Phil, excuse me, buddy. Wondering if you or any of the group own an Ibanez RG 1070 basswood body." I think it says Punga, maple walnut, purple heart, 11-piece neck. Opinion, please. Well, buddy, I have to look because, as Agufish has once pointed out, Ibanez cannot name a guitar, and even being probably the biggest Ibanez fan you can be, I can't remember the models and until I see them. So I know them. So this one, oh, okay, yeah. Let me share with everybody, and so that the people on the podcast can go, for the price I paid, you should be able to describe it to me, which they didn't pay anything. So I'll describe it anyways. Here it is. I love this model. I played this model at GitCon, the first GitCon in 2017. And if I recall correctly, I was like, oh, I got to have this guitar. But I think they shipped that model to Henning Polly, and I think he got it. And I wasn't able to try to buy it in time. And I wanted one, but I wanted that one because it played amazing. And I get weary of whenever I play a guitar and it's fantastic, I do not like to order that guitar because my experience tells me that I will order one, like it, and it won't be like the one I played. So that's what happened. So that guitar, the one I played was amazing. I love the look. I'm an Ibanez guy, that's for sure. So take that with a grain of salt because I'm really pro Ibanez, as I own many of them. And I've always been, in fact, Ibanez was my first high-end guitar I ever owned. And I think to this day, although Fender's close, I think the most guitars I own of any particular brand is Ibanez, but Fender's always close. So there you go. Average Revolution. Sure. That's cool. At least I could read it. Thank you, Average. Average Revolution says, I was wondering if PRS would be too high-end for my first electric. No, man, I don't know if high-end's the right thing. You know, your first electric guitar in the new world of where we buy online, it's a tricky thing for me to answer, man. I'm still hardcore. As much as I'm on the internet, we're talking on the internet, you know, I should praise the internet. But the truth is, nothing beats going up and picking up a guitar and just feeling it for a second. Average, just go to a store, it's your first guitar. Go to a store, pick up a guitar. Don't worry about anything. Don't worry about, you know, if you want to hear how the guitar sounds, ask the salesperson to play it for you and listen to it. But pick up the guitar. I love this because I love it when you hand someone who's never played guitar and you go, what do you think? And they go, well, I don't know. I've never played it. And I go, no. You don't play it. You hold it. How does it feel? Is it comfortable? And they go, and you'll say, well, I don't know. And I say, well, you do. Pick up 5 guitars. So it's not about picking up a guitar. Everybody who picks up their first guitar picks up a guitar and says, I don't know what I'm looking for. And I always say, now pick up 4 more. And by the 5th one, I guarantee you'll look back and go, okay, 3 was horrible, 2 was okay, 4 was nice, but 1 pretty good. You know what I mean? They give you reference. Hold them. Put your hand around the neck, kind of just sit with it. So that's what you do. So I don't recommend a brand to anybody. I don't recommend PRS or Fender or Gibson as your first guitar, Epiphone, Squier. I recommend that you pick up guitars. And then what's great is, don't worry about price either. Just pick up guitars. Pick up some guitars, find the guitar you like. Then once you find the guitar you like, then find the price that suits your needs. In other words, so if you pick up a $3,000 guitar, I don't know why you would grab that, but if you do and you love it, trust me, there's another guitar out there that feels like that. That is a lot less money. So that's how you find it. That's how you do it. And that's the way I've seen it work the best. I think the more you try to calculate how this is going to work out, it's not going to work out. Because you can do all that. Maybe that's the problem with the first guitar being the most expensive guitar, is that if you're trying to kind of mathematically figure out that if you buy an expensive guitar as your first guitar, you'll be right. I don't think that's how it's going to work. You need to touch the guitars. So, and like I said, do a half a dozen, 6 guitars at least. So curious to see. I always like to see what you guys think if you've had similar experiences. So my first guitar was, it was just because it was the only guitar in the store that price. JB Player was my first guitar. I literally went into a music store and it was the only guitar in the. It was probably either the cheapest guitar in the store, or the second cheapest guitar in the store, and it was just in my price range. And so if that's what you have, that's what you have. You know, use what you got. But if you have the luxury to kind of poke around and check prices and see what you like, pick up some guitars. Okay, Michael wants to know, Phil, why no love for vintage amps and guitars? Keep doing what you do. Thanks. It's not that I don't have love for vintage guitars and amps. I don't value them the way other players value them. And so let me give you an example of this. Somebody will pick up a 1963 Strat, right? Perfect example. They pick up a Strat, or 62 Strat, doesn't matter. Just pick a year. They pick up a Strat and they go, man, this is awesome. And no matter, it's just like, to me, vintage is no different than high-end guitars, in the idea that it's not that I don't like guitars that are old, and it's not that I like guitars that are new or anything like that. It's that I have a comfort zone of what I will pay for a guitar, and vintage guitars just aren't in that comfort zone. if you look at my personal collection of guitars, although I do have some expensive guitars, they're here for sure. Those guitars are in the highest end that I buy. They're in the lowest end of vintage guitars. So when I look at a guitar that's expensive, vintage guitars start above that. So it's first, it just prices me out of the market. And amps work the same way. So, you know, when I pick up, play a traditional amp or a vintage amp and I love it, again, it's priced usually right above where I consider my top end of my price range to be. So there you go. Now I do want to make this clear. I'm not afraid of vintage guitars, but I am afraid of vintage amps. And what I mean by that is if I buy a vintage guitar and it has damage or it needs work, I don't worry about that because I go, I'll just do the work myself. Or if it's that crazy, you can imagine I have a few friends that are in the, let's just say they're some of the better known luthiers in the country. So I have not only resources to have it taken care of, I can do most of it myself too. However, a vintage amp, I worry sometimes like not only the price of it, but then they need work. A lot of them need work. It's like vintage cars. They just need work and you gotta, you know, so yeah, it's not that I have a love or no love of them. Again, it's usually price. If you were to, trust me, if I was to walk across a vintage guitar that had a great deal and a great time, I'd do them. You know, I would kind of, you know, maybe think about it, but it's crazy. Hold on a second. Gotta take a drink before I lose my voice. Okay. BJ Denial says, why won't chat let me chat? What did I get blocked somehow? I see you fine, buddy. But let me know if you're using something else won't let you see it. I see you. Your chat. Yeah, Ed says, I've seen vintage amps that were outrageously priced that didn't even work. Yeah, you know, it's funny is, Ed, that's a great comment because I tried you know, as you guys know, I like a Princeton and I thought, you know, and Princeton's are a little tricky because Princeton's, unlike a lot of the Fender amps, some are like this, but most are not. Princeton amps really would drive you crazy because as you go through the years, the Princetons are different. They're different in their features. They're different models. They're just called Princetons. And I played a few vintage Princetons because I'm like, maybe that's what I need. And like he kind of mentioned, I'd look at the price tag and go, it's a little pricey, but maybe it's worth it. I plug it in, it's like, and shorting out and problems. I'm like, this is expensive and a problem. So yeah, that's the thing. I like I said, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I try to ask myself if I had a lot more money, who I turn into? Would I turn into a vintage guy? Maybe. I don't know. You never know until you're there, but I just don't see it. Okay, next question was from Dagger Blue. Dagger Blue. Dagger Blue says, picked up a Schecter C1. It has new pickups in it. Thing is, they got them reversed, bridge and neck. How much better will it get by swapping them back? Okay, so yeah, the issue, of course, is that they switched his bridge neck his bridge pickup and neck pickup. So essentially, what the problem is now your lower output pickup is by your bridge and your higher output pickup is by your neck. How much better it will get? It's not going to get better. It's just going to be different. Think of it like Eddie Van Halen. Wolfgang pickups generally come with the neck having more output than the bridge. That's something Eddie likes, I assume, because that's why they're like that. Me personally, I've been notoriously known amongst my friends to do this. I will put a lot of pickups in my guitars are both bridge pickups. I use the same pickup in both positions. So I just like it that way. So I don't think it's going to get better. If I was going to guess, I would imagine that your bridge will have a little less gain or a little less pushing on the amp, but it's going to sound a little thinner because it's higher output. And the neck is it's probably got a singing sweet distortion for leads, but on the cleans, it's probably clipping the amp a little bit or pushing the amp a little bit. I don't want to say clipping, but pushing the amp a little bit. So different. I don't know. Could you swap them back? Yeah, it would be fun. Sure. But if it was me, would I worry about it? If you like the way the guitar sounds, I think it's fine. So I wouldn't, in other words, if you like the way it sounds, if you're asking me, you like the way it sounds, are you missing anything? I'm going to say no. If you don't like the way it sounds, should you try and see if that will fix it? I say yes. There you go. Alex says ESP E2 Eclipse DB used for $1,200. Is it worth it? I don't know what their current value is, Alex, but that sounds reasonable. But I mean, again, I'm not doing that based on anything. I was looking at the E2s. Remember, I was saying, I'm not kidding. I said I look at ESP guitars online on Reverb a lot. I've been looking at the E2, and the E2s I've been looking at used for about $1,200. So I would imagine the ESPs have to float in there as well. I can't imagine the E2s being worth more than the ESPs, but again, so sounds good. But again, there's a ton of resources, as you know. You could go to eBay if you don't know this. I think most people know this, but of course, Alex, let's make sure everybody does know it. If you type in that model, oh, you know what? Let's do it. Okay, so Alex, we're going to check right now, and I'm going to share with you guys. We're going to go to eBay. I don't like Reverb for checking prices because even though Reverb gives you a range, doesn't really tell you anything. I use the same method everybody else does. Let me share with you guys right now. For those of you guys, when you're listening to the podcast later, I'll try to describe it to you. Maybe whisper like it is. So there's some kind of thing on the internet now. Anyways, so you go here, you're looking at what I'm looking at. You just go to eBay, you type in the model, which is what I did right here. You go to where it says completed items or sold items. I'm going to go sold, but I like completed sometimes better than sold because it gives you an idea. And let's find this thing. Oh, right off the bat, we're seeing, well, that was an E2. Yeah, E2 Eclipse. Wow, $900, 1,963, 1,985, 1,970. So you're looking at the prices I'm looking at. I don't know exactly what you're looking at. Here's a nice one, ESP E2 Eclipse in a some kind of burst finish. Looks like 1,082 is what it went for with $63 shipping. So that would put it at what you're talking about, close to. But everything looks a lot less than your than what you're finding it for. So based on this, I mean, here's one that went from 18, but I don't know if that's new or not. We could go into the auction and look. But that being said, that's where I look. I'm sure a lot of you do that. And of course, there's always somebody out there who's a little more savvy than the rest of us. If you know a better idea, put that in the notes. That's always helpful to the rest of us to learn the new trick. I've been using that now since eBay started, so it works for me. Reverb does, okay, so Count Feedback says Reverb lets you look at sold items also now. Oh, great. That's good to know, because I didn't see that, but I always use the range thing. So either way, and thank you, Count Feedback, for doing that. It's always, that's what's awesome about this. Hopefully during these conversations every Friday, all of us can learn something together. And I love it because I feel like half the time I'm learning something. Yeah, that's something I would look into. Looking up the price there, but so far it doesn't look that great. Surf by says, yeah, how's the StewMac Tweed kit coming? It's coming good. Got some exciting stuff for that. What we decided to do, I don't know if I should tell you guys. There's 3 videos coming. How about that? 3 more. So there's obviously the unboxing, the shellac, and then there's going to be the final build and demo, and then there's 2 other in between that I was very excited about. So those are coming. That's why I've been off the radar this week. A lot of time I've been down in the shop working, a lot of videoing. It's hopefully this will all come to some point where you guys get to see it all. So how about that? That's what I'm hoping. Okay. But that's kind of what I did after talking to you guys last week when I was telling you guys that I've been kind of putting the videos out on YouTube and trying to get these back catalog videos done, and it was wiping me out. I just made this week that's like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on that thing. It seems like you guys seem really more like me, more excited about this idea that these videos are going to come out. So let's just get them out, get them done. Tillian Mars says, big fan of the channel. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I have 2,000 euros to spend on a Strat. Is it worth spending that much on original professional, or should I get the players? Again, I hate to say this to you, buddy. You got to kind of pick them up and play them. I like the professional the best. That's why there's one right there. Out of all my Strats, including my custom shop, that's my favorite Strat. I don't know why it is. I don't know why it appeals to me, but I'm not saying that so to tell you that you should get the professional. I'm telling you that to remind you that no matter what the price, no matter what the model, you never know what's going to strike that emotional response in you that connects you to the guitar. So the fact that all my Strats, if I listen to the internet, which we're listening to the internet right now. I'm the internet. Anyways, but we're listening to the internet. Everything's supposed to be the same, right? Strats are all the same. But the truth is, I have like 4 or 5 Strats, and they're all very different to me. And so I would definitely do that. But that being said, I like professionals, and then I really like the player series as well. The player series will save you some money. But the only advice I can give you, buddy, is the idea that when somebody says I have $2,000 to spend, I always tell them, I go, that's great to know what the cap on your budget is. But remember, I think sometimes we get concerned with exhausting that budget. In other words, like, oh, if you like a guitar that's $700, let me put it this way. The psychological part of this is if you find a guitar you love for $700, your brain will say, well, I was going to spend $2,000, so let's find something for $1,500 and I'm ahead $500. But really we're ahead $1,300. Always know what budget you have, which you do, but don't worry about the budget, worry about the guitar. Find the instrument you love. If it's $400, go on a great vacation, man. Take that advice or hold it for something else. I try to follow that. Always, because I've learned that I like everybody, you get caught up in the budget, and then you try to find guitars that fit your budget, right? Like I have $2,000, so I'm going to find the best guitar I can for $2,000. But if you didn't have $2,000, you had $1,000, you'd find the best guitar for $1,000. So what I'm saying is find the guitar that you love, and then don't worry about what it costs. If it's out of your budget, then keep looking. Go something like that. Something like that is what I mean. So. And then, of course, I like the professional since you asked. Okay. What else do we got? Steve wants you to know, or wants us to know, he loves his vintage modified Strat. I've always liked the vintage modified ones. Superjet one. I'm just doing this because why not? It's nice for Lawrence. Superjet 113 says, heard nothing but the best for the 68 Deluxe Overdrive. Yeah, I'm a fan of the 68 Deluxe. I do currently now have in my possession the new 74, and I'll let you guys know what I think of that soon. So, but yeah, so Superjet. What I will tell you is this: I'll give you the advice I would give my best friend. If you were my best friend, I love the 68. I prefer the 68, but what I find is most players prefer the 87. If you're a rock guy, definitely think 87 or the 74. If you're a metal guy, definitely think the 87, or hard rock guy, think that. Although they do everything. The 68, though, is great for blues and light rock, man. It's just fantastic. So that's what's great. He's got 3 poisons, and you pick the one that fits the best for you. Randy Crooks wants to know, what's my thoughts on Washburn acoustics? Washburn acoustics is one of the best selling acoustics, I think, in the world. They make good stuff, especially now that they've really focused their SKUs in the last couple of years to just the hot sellers. I think you can't go wrong. I've liked every Washburn acoustic I've owned. I currently don't own a Washburn anymore. I can't really say why. I don't know what it is. I kind of moved a different direction when it comes to acoustics, and I play a lot of acoustic. I love acoustic guitars. I play them a lot. Some of you guys know my favorite guitar player in the world is an acoustic guitar player. That's Monty Montgomery. So, which, by the way, I had the greatest thing. That's what I'm going to tell you guys. I had the greatest thing happen to me. It was awesome. Ralph bought me the Monty Montgomery tab and music book. And so, that's a rare find. So it's super excited. So I set up lessons starting next week with one of my favorite guitar teachers, and we're going to go through the Monty Montgomery catalog together, and I'm super stoked about that, man. I'll give you guys updates on that. I'm very, very excited about this. So back to Washburn acoustics. I like them. That's my thoughts on them. The prices are usually really good, which is another thing, which is great. Okay. Okay. Yeah, see, Fool says Martins are awesome. See, that's my problem, is I find Martins and Taylors are the thing where when you upgrade to them, the other acoustics, they become a little hard to understand. Electric guitars are not like that. There's no PRS or Gibson or Suhr guitar that I've ever played that makes me go, I don't know if I love, a Squier now, right? All of a sudden you can't play a Squier. I find no, they're just different. High-end acoustics, though, really make it tough for you to love the lower price acoustics. Acoustic is definitely one of those few things where I say, as you go up, it's hard to go back down because they do get way more complex sounding and they sound fuller while they go up in price. So that's one of the things. But I think Washburn for the price are killer guitars. Yeah, Larrabees are nice. Oh yeah, yeah. You know, Seagulls are nice. I mean, there's tons of nice guitars out there. Larrabees are nice, but they're pricey up there now too. So, okay. Let's do we're going to go back since questions are piling up in every direction. Here we go. We got 68 Mr. Blue says, thoughts on the Carvin B100 head, keep or sell and get a Marshall? Oh, okay. Keep or sell it and get a Marshall. I say get rid of it and get a Marshall. Here's why I say that, 68 Mr. Blue. And I say that with this. If you're thinking about getting rid of it, get rid of it. And the reason is I can't imagine they're going to go up in value. I think Carvin amps will continue to go away in value because Carvin, the company, is no longer making amps. They're making preamp pedals and wirelesses and stuff like that. So I think what's going to happen, and what I've seen in the past happen, is you think, oh yeah, well, they'll become more rare and they'll go up in price. But because they're not making them anymore, and you're going to find less and less players are going to start looking for them. So here's what I'm saying. If you like your B100, keep it, you like it. But if you're thinking about getting rid of it and getting a Marshall, go ahead and do that now, because I think you'll be better off now than waiting later. That's my gut instinct. So share it with you on that. Doc8404 says, hey, Phil, I was wondering if you saw the pics of my gear attached to our emails about sending you my Solar to review. Also ordered a Jim 7V. Should be here in 2 weeks. I'm glad I left a pillow and blanket in the shed. Okay, so I didn't. You sent pictures of your Solar to review. I don't remember seeing that, buddy. Can you send that to me at pmcnight7 instead of askknowyourgear? With just put Doc8404 in the subject, and that way I'll get it directly. I get both emails, no problem, but it's how it grabs my attention, right? I don't mean one gets my attention more than the other. I just know what people are sending me in each category. So something like that. I'm really curious. I'm curious to see what you think about your Jim 7V as well. So Jeff Harper says, from last week, I was wondering what you thought of the review of the Artist Tweed Tone 20 amp that Shane and the Blues did. You know, I watched that, right? I put the link in there and I watched it, and I was really impressed, especially since I was like, I thought, because I get the impression that everything in Australia is just really expensive. So I was really shocked that it was really priced right. I thought it was a pretty good amp. I thought it was, you know, I mean, again, from a video and stuff, it didn't compel me to buy one, but I'm not in the market for an amp. So I think if I was in a market for amp and I was trying to hit a budget, I liked it enough to where I would see it would definitely interest me. So, but I'm not in a, you know, I'm not in the market for an amp right now at all. Not even to review, because I got stuff I got going on reviewing and stuff. Henrik Viking says, is it possible to restain a flame maple top? Want to pimp my old Ibanez. Love your channel. Keep it up. Yeah, you can restain a guitar because you can sand the old stain off. Now, keep in mind, since you said Ibanez, old Ibanez, one of my concerns, especially with Ibanez, is that it's probably 8 out of 10 chance that it is a veneer. And if it's a veneer, it's not going to have a whole lot to sand off. You can sand through that stuff in seconds. And if you sand through that, or if you sand it too thin, you'll see the grain. If you sand a veneer super, even thinner than it is, you're going to see the grain of the wood underneath it come through it. So is it possible to restain a flame maple? Absolutely. PRS does it every day. You can send old PRSs to PRS and they refinish them. And then, of course, obviously local luthiers and all that stuff too. I'm just giving you a reference because, I mean, they have an actual, Paul Smith Guitars actually has a shop where they just refinish old PRS guitars. If you guys have old finish, you know, if you want, like, if you have an old PRS, but you want it stained to be like a new PRS, they'll do that stuff too. Almost sounds like an advertisement for them, but trust me, I could care less. But I'm just giving the information. The important part is, yeah, it's possible to restain the guitar. However, you need to find out if that's a veneer. If I was you and it was a veneer, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? It's tough. Because the problem also with the veneer is one of the things that's great about a top is you could take components off and get to somewhere where you can't see it, like a bridge or the side of the maple inside the pickup cavities, and sand some of the finish off there and see how it's going to kind of go and see what you're dealing with. With a veneer, because it's only on the top, there's nowhere for you to sand on it to see what's going to happen, to see how deep the finish is into the wood. So I wouldn't do it, me personally. But you could also reach out to someone who actually does finish work for a living. I don't do finish work for a living to see if it's done. But in my experience, it's been almost a no-go. Randy Crooks just did a super chat to say hi and say thank you, I guess, or hi. Hi, Randy. How's it going, buddy? And then let me go. I know there's some more super chats, but I like to try to get, as many non-super chats as super chats. SG Flying V says, are you finished with the Solar now? No, actually, it's still playing it. The question of the day has still been whether or not I'm going to change the pickups in it. I like the guitar so much as it is. I just don't know if I want to change pickups. The reality is this. I have some pickups that I think will be fun to put in there. I have them, and they sit on my bench, and I think I should put them in there, but I really don't want to mod the guitar. And I'm trying to follow my own advice that I give you guys. If you like it, don't mess with it. I like the Solar stock. I play it all the time. That guitar is one of the first guitars that I've picked up in a while that I just love it. I play it all the time. I cannot recommend the Solars enough. And now I've played a few of them now. I really like them. I just do. So I really like him. I like Ola too. He's a super nice guy. So, I mean, that doesn't hurt that you like the owner, and he seems nice. And his videos are entertaining. This is Brian said, must have Solar review. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of reviews. I was going through the list today of stuff I have to edit. I know. I know. I feel horrible just thinking about all the stuff that needs to come out. It needs to get out. I need to get it done. Old Guy's Guitar Vlog says you can't redo a veneer. You'll never get the original stain off before getting through the veneer. That Old Guy's Guitar Vlog, thank you. Because again, that's my experience too. That you're probably, don't do this, by the way. It's probably easier to sand the veneer off. Just go to the original wood, the wood that's underneath. I wouldn't do that, but I'm just saying, and my guess would be it'd be harder. So yeah. So, and like I said, you can check to see if your Ibanez is veneer or not, which is easy to do. You can check. It's one of the simplest ways is take a pickup out. Just take one of the pickups out and look on the side where the pickup's routed and look to see if there's an actual maple cap on there, or if it's all some kind of basswood or mahogany or poplar or alder, whatever it is. It's going to be a kind of wood, and then there'll be the veneer. Veneers are pretty easy to figure out what they're doing. Bam Mozzie says, hey, Bam Mozzie says, Ola's soul album is good. I agree. I think it was great. Donald, thank you, Donald, to the rescue. Donald W. Reisler says you can re-veneer. Absolutely, you can re-veneer. You know what's funny is that not only is that true, but we're actually doing a kind of a re-veneer on a guitar for one of the Sharp My Axes that we will work on. They're just never going to get done. But if it ever gets done, there's a re-veneer video coming. So good point. Good point. Yeah. We didn't re-veneer. And actually, I should say we re-veneer. We did not re-veneer. We veneered a guitar that had a top on it, but not that had a veneer. But yeah, you could put a new veneer on it. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. Metal Freak 2000 says, any copyright issues with the YouTuber for reviews? What I've seen, so you guys know, is that like Robert Baker and Glenn Fricker so far have announced that a few of the copyright issues have been reversed. My experience with YouTube so far is that whatever horrible things YouTube does to you, which I've had done to me many times now, because I've had flag videos, I've had my videos shut off, I've had every, just like everybody else, I've had all the same stuff. Pull my video for review, all that stuff. You put in your dispute, and it takes a little while, but so far, you get it back in the right way. We'll keep hoping that's what happens for everybody. It's a very tough gig that way. You know what I mean? Because you never know. You know what I mean? Copyright strikes are very dangerous because of the fact that essentially, think about channels our size. I know you guys think of my channel as a large size, but a channel of my size, something to be very aware of. Literally, if I was to get, let's say, a half a dozen copyright strikes, I could lose 3, 4, 5, 6 months of what I make could be taken because of the, you know what I mean? Because as pointed out many times, what will probably get copyright striked is your bigger videos. And so since the extreme of small channels like ours, and I know, again, it doesn't look like I'm a small channel, but in the grand scheme of YouTube, I am. And the idea that, yeah, I have a video that has 2 million views, but then I have a video that has 10,000 views. So if I get 20 videos that have 10,000 views that don't get hurt, but the one 2 million does, that literally just takes you down like dominoes. So, again, you do your best. I think the lesson that I hope everybody learns from this, especially you newer YouTube channels, is this, and I'll reiterate this from last week. Do the best you can to make sure you don't use copyright material. Anytime you can make sure you don't use it. If you don't have any reason to use anything that's copyrighted, whether it's a picture, a video, a logo, audio, don't use it. Try not to use any of it. As I've created my channel, I've literally became more aware each time that, you know, it needs to be 100% my own. And I've done as much as I can to do that. And I keep continuing that. And I think that's the smart move for the future. And then in the past, you know, it is what it is. You hope that it doesn't, you know, nothing comes back to kick you. But again, YouTube is it's the Wild West, man. Who knows what's going on out there? Okay, so I love it when you guys ask me a question, but I literally can't answer it because I have something happening I can't answer it. So I'll leave it at that. Steve Long says, "Hey Phil, thinking about getting a Graphtec Ghost system for acoustic sound on my Jim Jr. Not selling. Is it worth it?" Steve, hopefully I will have this resolved. It feels like I finally have time to start doing it. I installed a Graphtec system into a guitar for a Sharp Max video, and I'm having a problem with the system. Now, keep in mind, it could be user error, but which I'm totally fine with, man. If I make a mistake, you know, people make mistakes. No one's perfect. That's a silly idea. But I've installed like a dozen Ghost systems. Oh, and I'm being nice, maybe 2 dozen. So I don't feel like I've done anything wrong. I've tested all the things and I'm still having a problem with it. Graphtec gave me the contact number for someone who's going to help me with it. I will reach out to them. In fact, that will be Monday's priority to do that and get that done. Steve, that will help you because then after doing that, I can give you some feedback on it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we should do it. I've done them in the past. I've always liked them. They don't seem to hurt the value of a guitar too much, especially a Jim Jr. I would imagine you're not going to get the money back out of the guitar if you sell it. I know you're saying you're not selling it, but I'm just telling you not to worry about that. Is it worth it? Yeah, I think it's worth it if you want that. What I plan to do, Steve, would it help you? I've always thought about doing this. Would it help you if I did a video comparing an acoustic simulator pedal to an acoustic piezo, to a piezo, whatever the hell system that no one says I say right, no matter how many different times. I say it different every time just to see what you guys do. And every time somebody tells me it's wrong. So you know, I purposely say it different every time just to see what people do. But anyways, would it help if I did a comparison video? I always thought about doing that as a video. I thought it'd be fun. I have both the Boss acoustic pedal and the and a piezo system. So let's see if a comparison video will help. Let's see. What else do we got? How are we doing on time? We're a little over, but that's okay. We got a couple questions. Yeah. See, piezo. You know, I'm just going to share this with you, even though when I did the official "How do you say," this is true, so you guys know. When I did the official "How you say" video, which I'll put a link since I'm mentioning it, a year ago, I went to the NAMM show and asked companies how they say their name. Do you know I asked everybody at the NAMM show, including all kinds of companies that work with these systems, how do you say that name? And not only did I not get anybody to do it, everybody flat out told me they don't want to even try because no matter what you say, you're told you say it wrong. So. Okay. D. Detwiller says, "What part of Arizona do I live in?" The hot part. And that sounds like a joke. It's not, because not all Arizona is hot. Northern part of Arizona is pretty awesome. So I live in the southern part of Arizona. I live in Phoenix, and Phoenix is hot. So Look at this. Piezo. Yeah, I said it that way too. I don't care. Mike, I don't know what to tell you, Mike. Mike says, I want an N4, but I don't have $1,500 to $2,000. What should I do? Buy an N2? That's, get an N2. You know what, dude? The actually answer on an N4 is simple. Go on Reverb every day, or put the thing where it tells you every time somebody lists one. There's a deal. I've seen them go for less than those. You won't get it for $500, but you can get it for 12. I've seen them go for $1,000 to $1,200. BC Rich 581 says Flagstaff is nice. Phoenix is Tatooine from Star Wars. Yes, that is accurate. Except for Flagstaff's not nice in the wintertime because it's snow. And if you don't like snow, I don't like snow. Okay, let's go to a pen question. How are we doing on that? The next one is from Bob Crosley. Hey, Bob, what's up, buddy? Bob wants to know, only downside to an expensive first guitar is you might not get the right guitar for your style. You end up playing most, but I'd take that over a cheap Squier knockoff I started with. Happy Friday. Bob, that is a great comment. That is the negative, because I was asking, what is the downside to buying an expensive guitar as your first guitar? And his answer is actually fantastic. The downside of buying an expensive guitar for your first guitar is not that it won't be great. What if you don't like the way it sounds or feels, and now you spend all that money? That is a perfect answer. See, I love a counter argument to one side. Where everybody likes to argue, I just like to hear everybody's opinion so I can just make a decision. That's it. Based on that, Bob, I think that's a good argument. I would definitely, using that logic, I would not recommend somebody buy an expensive guitar as their first guitar. I would say, you know what, maybe buy something and then keep some money. In fact, I might even say a better suggestion than spending $2,000 on your first guitar, if you had $2,000, was to spend a couple $100 and then bank that money. And after you've been playing for a while, then purchase that expensive guitar with some more experience. See, that's how you come up with a great answer. You have a conversation. Steve Hunter says, thanks, Phil. Appreciate the channel. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you just hitting the tip jar there. Pedro Flores says, need to replace the neck on my Squier Tele Custom. It's beat to death, but sentimental. I understand that. Had it and worked on it for 10 years. Any recommendations? Thanks. Yeah. Well, to me, the thing about when you say Squier Tele, keep this in mind. You can buy a Squier for the price of a neck. In other words, if you look at most necks, whether they be aftermarket Fender necks or Warmoth necks, or even some of the nicer Mighty Mite necks, when you look at most Telecaster necks on the market, aftermarket necks, they're going to be priced, even at the low end, of what a Squier guitar goes for. So what I'm telling you, Pedro, is just like the car industry, we cannibalize it, right? You buy yourself a Telecaster and cannibalize it. So here's something you can do. You could buy a Telecaster, find one you like with a nice neck, buy that one, put that neck on the sentimental guitar, take the neck from the sentimental guitar, put it on the other Telecaster body, and hang that. So now you have not only the guitar that you're sentimentally attached to, but the neck that you're sentimentally attached to is now something you can reminisce with. That's my suggestion to you is, and so, I think that's a more common thing than not. I find a lot of times, I've suggested that many times, that sometimes instead of buying parts, you can buy guitars and cannibalize them. It works the same way as the auto industry. Right? You can buy salvage cars and literally get the parts off them for way cheaper than you could ever buy the parts new. So keep that in mind, Pedro. You have more options than sometimes you know. Reggie Wooten, hey Reggie, it's good to see you, man. You're always active every week. Thank you, buddy. He says, love the show. Thanks. He just did a super chat for no reason. Thank you, Reggie. I always appreciate you commenting and stuff. And Joseph Peoples also just did a super chat. You guys are awesome. I appreciate that. Let's get some let's get some non-super chat questions. Okay. Shaman Blues in all caps would like us to know why the heck is Fender making Squiers so well and so affordable? What's their angle? Well, I did that video, 5 Squiers that I think are better than Fenders for that reason. which is funny because I don't think sometimes people, you don't understand the concept of a video and when I make it. But the concept of that video was as simple as, I thought that was strange. Why put so much effort into the Squier line? What's going on? Are they trying to soup up the Squier line sales, or is there a big renovation coming to the Fender line? You know what? I think that's probably the more probable concept. I think that the reason why the Squiers have been really juiced up with bone nuts and nickel plated parts and better pickups, the Alnico 5 pickups and stuff, is I think we're going to see a continuation to be revamping the Fender lineup, right? And so you never heard the saying, renovate it from top to bottom or take it from top to bottom. I think they're just going bottom to top. They're just going to renovate that way. So maybe that's how the budgets are allocated. Maybe the guys who run the Squier department got a budget and the Fender guys didn't get the same kind of budget, or they use the budgets to renovate the lines differently. But that's my answer. But yeah, the Squier stuff, man, buy on the spec list, just reading the specifications and then reading those prices did not make sense. It really takes a lot away. The other thing that is something really worth noting that I saw a YouTuber, and I wish I could give them credit because I'm trying to think of the YouTuber. Come on, I always hate it. If I watch a video to try to do the shout out of the channel that I was talking about it. Hold on a second. Give me a second, guys. I can't remember. I'm so horrible. I'm sorry. If I do, I'll put the link to the video if I can think of it when I'm doing the index. The point is, a YouTuber that was reviewing some Harley Bentons made a comment that Harley Benton is causing the industry to kind of up their game. This Squier is getting so many modifications and so many upgrades would be some kind of evidence of that statement, right? That if Harley Benton's going to put out great guitars for $150, Squier can't be at $300 and be the same specs, right? You have to read down and go, okay, Harley Benton's got the plastic nut, the cheaper tuning keys, cheaper pickups, and then the Squier, of course, at double the price has better components. Even Squier's brand behind it is not going to justify double the price than a Harley Benton unless there's some other stuff going there. So there you go. That's my thought, Showman. I hope that works. Again, just thoughts. Okay. Hold on a second. Yeah, somebody said sounds hinting-ish. It wasn't hinting. It was a smaller channel. You know what? I'll go in my history and find it. And if I can put it in the index, I'll put it again. Cause I like to give shout outs to the channels that deserve it. Bigger than mine, smaller than mine, whatever. Everybody deserves the credit of their hard work they do. Scott Nickerson said, cheers, Philip. Thank you, buddy. Says, do you have a favorite reverb pedal for your Runt 20? My favorite reverb pedal is my 63 Fender Boss pedal. They don't make anymore. And it's last I looked was way overpriced in the used market. But my second favorite reverb pedal is slowly becoming the Atlantic by NewX. I have not done a review of it. And the reason I didn't do the review of that pedal was it's been on my board. I've been loving it for a while now, but I was getting some kind of weird tone, a digital tone, and I thought it might be the pedal. So I went really crazy trying to figure out where that was coming from, because I didn't want to recommend the pedal if that was a problem. I feel pretty confident that's not that pedal that was doing that sound. So I will review that pedal. Scott, I will make sure I get that review out for you. And the very least, I'll throw it on Instagram. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, I've been putting up 1-minute videos on Instagram almost every day about all kinds of things, reviews, highlights, all that stuff. I've been really pushing Instagram. And the reason being is it seems to be a great way to consume 1-minute information, just something fun, tidbits. I go on Instagram and I notice that Instagram is mostly like, hey, look, I'm on vacation, or hey, I bought a boat. And I read a thing that said that people who watch YouTube usually go for information, and people who go to Instagram, they go, to see what everybody else is up to. And they said that they said there's a higher rate of depression from people who watch Instagram. And that actually kept me away from Instagram, because I was like, in the idea that I was like, well, I don't want to add to that, like, look at me, right? That seems stupid. But so I've been trying to come at it different and say, hey, how about, isn't it fun to get a quick little 1-minute information video? So I'm doing that. If you guys like that, give that a shout out. Do what you can to help grow that. I'll keep doing that. It seems really easy to do these 1-minute consumable videos comparatively to these longer videos, even though I have to edit them down. And I'll put a link to that Instagram so you can join me on Instagram if you'd like that. And let me know on Instagram, just like here, if you like what I'm putting out. If you like that information type stuff. I find Instagram does not. The reason I say all this, so you guys know, I get metrics, I just like this, I get to look to see the stats, the analytics, and the analytics on Instagram, sadly enough, really do lend to what I read about Instagram. When I post information on Instagram, it doesn't do as well as if you go, hey, look at me, everything's great and I'm awesome. So I'm trying to fight that with myself, because if I post something that is, like, hey, I'm having a great day today in Puerto Rico, you get the idea. I'm just killing this subject. Yeah, you guys are talking back and forth about the Fender Squier Bullet Telecasters being discontinued. I'm not shocked about that. That's their more affordable series. That was a great guitar, but who knows? I could think of 1,000 reasons why they'd be discontinued. Maybe they're going to revamp it, do a new line. Maybe they figured at that price point it was too expensive to have multiples like the Strat and the Telecaster. I think the idea was, when the Bullets were selling like crazy in the stores to the beginners. But again, think about how many companies now make affordable guitars. It's got to be who wants to be in the $100 guitar market and have 5,000 competitors? Right? It's like as a business, think of it. Don't think about it as guitar players for sometimes give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Give them the business logic. Who wants to be in the $100 no profit guitar business with nothing but competition around you? Doesn't sound like a fun business model, right? Sounds like the fast food industry, like making tacos and burgers for 30 cents profit and then trying to sell a lot of them against each other. It doesn't sound fun to a lot of businesses. So I could see where they would probably Beatmaster Phil says, don't start singing Everything Is Awesome on here. I love that song. I don't love that song, by the way. I just had kids when that movie came out and that thing got played to death. Okay. Griselda, I hope I'm saying it right. Griselda says, thank you for the videos. I really learn a lot from you and the community. Thanks. Especially mentioned in the community. I really appreciate you saying that, because I feel like that too. I love it when you guys I watch the comments on videos where you guys interact with each other. And I love it when somebody says, I feel like you guys, I really feel this way. Sometimes it's like an army of you guys when somebody's like, hey, Phil, they're asking me and they're asking a question and you guys will chime in. And I love that because there's just no way I can answer all these comments. And it's great to see you guys doing that. It's awesome. It's very kind of you to devote your time and experience like this. Again, it's man, I gotta tell you the truth. It's just awesome to do. And the fact that you can get some revenue from it on top of it, something that allocate, in other words, it pays the time to do this. It's really cool. I'm very thankful for it. And I plan to do it as long as it lasts. And I don't care if it lasts 10 years or 2 years or 2 months from now. It's been cool. Thank you. Okay. And on that note, let's wrap it up because we went 1.5 hours today. It's pretty long. I'm gonna just say this because it would make me laugh. Lighten's Life says everything is cool when you're part of a team. That's the lyric for that song. Gosh, the song's gonna be in my head tonight. Ben says, hey, I love this community. You know what, Ben? You have a great community on your channel too. I'll put a shout out to Ben Combs. If you guys don't know Ben Combs, he's got a great channel. It's a smaller channel. He's starting out. He's doing really great. They're in Canada. But more importantly, they have that community aspect that we love. I had a great time talking to him at the NAMM show. He even invited me to be on his show. And to be honest with you, if I could figure it out how to get that done, I'll get it done, Ben. The only thing I can tell you, Ben, is I'm not going to go on anybody's channel before I go on yours next. I promise. I promise. I will figure that out. Somehow we'll figure it out. Again, my problems is that not only do I have the work, because I have, another stuff I do, YouTube, but I'm a dad. So sometimes when you're on, it's like it's my family time. And, one of the things that YouTube, and I'm gonna end on this note, you know, we're talking to somebody today about the store when I had the store, because today is 2 years ago. The store's been closed now for 2 years. And they were saying, do you miss the store? And I said, well, you know, I used to work 6 days a week, 10 hours a day, minimum 60 hours a week store. That's not a complaint. That's just to understand that's what retail is. If you have a retail business, you work retail, you work hours. And if you manage a retail business or you own a retail business, you're going to work even more of those hours. And the only thing about the store is I don't miss is those hours, because I now get to spend more time with my family than I've ever got to imagine to do. So it's 12 years of that business missing family time was the hardest part of that business. And now being able to still be in guitar, be in communities, do something I love, but have family time. Like I said, it's amazing. So I thought I'd share with you guys. There you go. We'll end on a positive note for the weekend, and especially since some of you guys hung out for so long. Thank you again. Before I go, of course, I want to do a shout out to the patrons that help this show, and that's why I do them every week and let you guys know these are the people that do it. And try not to butcher it. It's Jeff Howe, Zachary Rowe, Michael Newman, Bruce, and the Saltwater Whiskey Band, Hanner Gunson. By the way, Hanner is the one that said hi to me today. Hi, Hanner. John Jex, Michael Scheid, Justin Mabe, David Madison, Andrew Good, Andy Dennis, Anthony Desposito, Billy Robertson, Bob Crosley, Bob Pickwode, Brian Stewart, Carlos Patillo, Chuck Keene, Chief Squatch. I'm sure I'm saying it right. Right? It's Chief Squatch. Otherwise, it's Chief Squatch. Either way, I think I'm saying it right. Chris from New Mexico, Chris Glaze, Craig Parker, Dave Reese, Dennis Prescott, Aaron Kamicker. I'm saying that right too. Aaron said it was Kimmicker. Gary Marshall, Greg Peterson, Jason Spacek, James Biles, Joe Watson, John and Russell, Jonathan Pickering, Joseph McCarthy, Kermit Jackson, Larry Colkin, Lawrence Petros from LPD Pedals, and Lonnie Hoke, Michael Lindner, Muse guitarist, Paul Ostreich, Lewis and Alvaro from Pedal Pal Effects, Ricky Robson, Robert Hodges, Sam Oram, Scott Tompkins, Steve Hogan, Tim Camacho, Tim Farnsworth, Todd Flowers, and Zesty Basil Pizza. And I think we're missing one or two of you on the patron thing. I will make sure if I didn't mention you, you'll get mentioned next week with a little special shout out. Because again, sometimes these lists get a little tricky. And then the last, Adam Garrett just did a super chat for no reason. Adam, I appreciate that, Adam. And you guys are awesome. And I will see you next week. Look forward to some videos next week, plus the live show next Friday at 3:00. All right, guys. And also, don't forget, this is a podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. I will put links down below, and I will index it so that when you guys watch the rebroadcast, anything you want to see, you can click right to it. All right, guys. On that note, thank you again, and know your gear.